Okay. Today we'll be reading a story called A Forest That Takes. Hope you enjoy. It's been 3 days into my venture, far too soon to begin hallucinations, and yet I feel the trees have begun to shift around me. When I sleep, they appear one way, and when I wake, another. I shouldn't be too far from civilization, but when I tried to turn back after the first day, the marked paths had disappeared. Paths had been blocked by trees with no way around. I can only think I must be losing my mind to not have remembered a storm that could cause such destruction. Hell, waking up and trees change position is enough. Unless man could be moving me, it would be unthinkable for someone to do something so insane to another man, to block paths too. What is there to gain? It's not as though I'm missing rations or equipment. It also would be odd to not wake to such movements. It seems so unfeasible, but I must test my theory. I must lie awake and I wait for this madman to strike, because I must be mad. The force has warped my mind in only 4 days to imagine such things. If I make it home, I would declare they send me to an asylum. It just can't be real. I waited for the cricket song and the sun to make it set. I waited in darkness, listening to the songs of the forest. Time moved by at the pace of a snail. I fought my body not to flinch at every sound that sounded slightly different than the last. I fought my mind not to slip into a slumber. My eyes fought the pitch black to adjust to a figure. Any figure it could, but it was a waste, only conjuring more fears into my mind. I thought the worst to happen would be the rustling of my tent opening, and when the songs of the forest stopped, it felt as But hold on, I lost my place. I thought the worst that would happen would be the rustling of my tent opening, but when the songs of the forest stopped, it felt as if I was to die in that moment. Not even the chirp of a cricket rang through the wind that blew against my tent. Time loses meaning in a moment you feel it's your last. I don't know how long I laid in silence before I heard shuffling. I wasn't the shuffling of an animal or a man, but something larger. It came from all directions. The moonlight from above came flickering through. The shuffling became a symphony, almost sounding natural. I dared myself to peek further out of my tent. I was so close as I sat up in place, the moonlight flashing in from different angles, reflecting off the trees. As my hand touched the entrance of the tent and I leaned forward, a branch from beneath me echoed out. The light flashed upon my tent, and as silence followed, my heart sank into my stomach and twisted into a sailor's knot. The silence I came to this forest for, it taunted me. It tempted me. It felt like a dance with death. If I sat still in the forest, it would swallow me up. If I crawled out and ran, death would follow. I tempted death, clenching the entrance of the tent. In an instant, sounds came pouring in from the forest. Sounds of crickets and birds rang through. Sounds of bugs buzzing. The song of the wind, a whisper behind it all. As I clambered my way from the tent, there was nothing. There was no person, no creature, only the forest. The moon shone upon my face as I sat in the new forest. I am afflicted in some way, whether it be a curse from God or madness from this solitary. But I witnessed the noise and the light, for whatever trick it be kept me pondering for my next solution. When the light rose, I could see clearly. The soil was untouched, unmarked, a test to see if I was mad. If the trees do move, so were the marks. I grabbed my knife and hacked a line into a tree bark flicking towards my eyes. I persisted, making a mark on 3 more trees, when on the 4th blood spurted out, pouring out from the tree. I fell back, grabbing my satchel, and ran for the campsite, leaving everything else behind. I now find myself by a river before the sun sets. I have washed my face of the blood and It was thicker than human's blood, leaving lines in my hands. Hold on, I'm gonna restart that line. I washed my face with the blood, and it was thicker than human's blood, sticking into the lines of the... Okay. I fell back, grabbing my satchel, and ran from the campsite, leaving everything else behind. I now find myself by the river before the sun sets. I washed my face with the blood, and it was thicker than human's blood, sticking into the lines of my hands. I don't know what I will do this night, but I will try to stay awake through the night, but my body feels heavy. I woke up to the smell of the river. I woke up where I slept the night before. I felt free as I ran down the path of rushing water when I noticed trees marked with my symbol. They lay blocking my path, taunting me. The river rushed violently when from the tree line, rustling broke the silence that weighed heavy in my soul. I had no time to lay with the confirmation of my sanity. I was to be forced with a far scarier truth. What had been messing with me all this time? I gave no mind to the answer as I plunged into the river. It dragged me down quickly, but I saw it. It towered man, bear, elk. It was a not acclaimed species. I know not of its intentions with me, but death was far more tempting than the madness in this forest. I fought the waves that poured over me into my lungs as I fought for every breath. I bobbed like an apple in the water as the currents dragged me, my only saving grace being the satchel that got snagged on the tree down the stream. Once I managed to safety, I coughed up water and took a breath like it was my first and last. Before I stood and ran. I didn't stop running, not even in darkness. I followed the reflections of the moonlight in the water, Before long, I saw the flames of my town. Torches lit the rest of my way. I warned the people of this town, I warned my family, and I will continue to warn whomever will listen about the forest that takes. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. Let me know what you thought.